In August 1944, the Axis forces were on the defensive. In the West, a new front was created in June after D-Day. Germans were fighting in central, in northern Italy, and in east, the Soviets were on a huge offensive on a gigantic front line. Germany was in a very bad situation. But a new blow is about to happen on the date of 23rd of August 1944. At that date, King Michael of Romania joined with conspirators and opposition politicians in an attempt to arrest the head of the government, Marshal John Antonescu. The coup was successful. The king removed the government and the weapons were turned against Germany. But why did this happen? For you to better understand the situation of Romania in the Second World War, firstly, we have to go 132 years back in time. We are in 1812. In the aftermath of the Russo-Turkish War, which happened between 1806 and 1812, the eastern parts of the Principality of Moldova, known as Bessarabia, were ceded to Imperial Russia. In 1859, Moldova united with Wallachia in what will become Romania after their War of Independence. In 1917, in the wake of Russian Revolution, the area constituted itself as the Moldavian Democratic Republic, an autonomous republic part of a proposed federative Russian state. Bolshevik agitation in late 1917 and early 1918 resulted in the intervention of the Romanian army to pacify the region. Soon after, the Parliamentary Assembly declared independence and then the union with the Kingdom of Romania. The Great War led to the achievement of the long-standing goal, and that was the creation of Greater Romania, a national state that would incorporate all ethnic Romanians, which were divided for centuries. However, these new territories also included significant Hungarian, German, Russian, and Ukrainian minorities. Thus, the relations with Hungary and with the new authoritarian regime of the East weren't so good. In the first years of the interwar period, the situation was very good. The economy grew substantially, and Romania found itself as a major actor of Southeast Europe. King Ferdinand, who unified the country after the Great War, died in 1927, and after his death, an era of political instability is about to start. Carol, who will become Carol II, was the eldest son of Ferdinand I and became crown prince upon the death of his grand-uncle, King Carol I, in 1914. His life was marked by numerous scandals, among them marriages to Zizi Lambrino in 1918 and then to Princess Helen of Greece and Denmark in 1921. Then he had continued affairs with Magda Lupescu, and this obliged him to renounce his succession rights in 1925 and leave the country. King Ferdinand died in 1927, and Carol's 5-year-old son ascended the throne as Michael I. Because Michael was still a minor, a regency council was instituted. Carol then returned to Romania in 1930 and replaced his son and the regency that had been in place. His reign was marked by political turmoil, huge instability, and in final evolved into a personal dictatorship beginning in 1938. Due to the political situation of Europe at the time, combined with its internal struggles and its geographic position, Romania found itself in a very delicate posture. The war was on the horizon, and the only guarantee of Romania's integrity was France and Great Britain. On the 21st of June 1940, France signed an armistice with Germany, and Great Britain focused on its defense. Romania was alone. In the summer of 1940, a series of territorial disputes were diplomatically resolved, unfavorably to Romania, resulting in the loss of most of the territory gained in the wake of World War I. On June 26, 1940, at 2200 hours, Soviet People's Commissar Molotov presented an ultimatum to evacuate Bessarabia and North Bukovina. The king communicated his wish to stand against the Soviet Union, but was under the pressure of Germany and Italy. Carroll accepted. And then again, under these pressures, Romania lost northern Transylvania and southern Dobruja. This caused the exile of Carroll II in 1940 and the installation of a new dictatorship government under Marshal John Antonescu. Carroll was succeeded by his son, Michael, who was only 18 years old at the time. Although the young king was formally the supreme head of the army and had full powers, in reality he was forced to remain just a figure, being considered by the head of the government as just an inexperienced child. The new government collaborated with Germany and joined the Axis in November 1940. The new goal of the state was to regain some, if not all, of the lost territories. In 1941, Germany and its allies prepared for the invasion of the Soviet Union. In June 1941, the offensive began. After a short time, Bessarabia and the northern Bukovina were fully reincorporated into the Romanian state. And initially, the Romanian army wanted to stop there. The goal was reached, and Antonescu hoped to regain the northern Transylvania territory by diplomatic means. Germany persuaded Antonescu in August 1941 to also take control of the Transnistrian territory as a substitute for northern Transylvania. Also, more discussions were promised on this matter if Romania was to continue the struggle in the east. More and more divisions were sent to fight for what a country study by the U.S. Federal Research Division of the Library of Congress attributes as a morbid competition with Hungary in hopes of regaining northern Transylvania. As a member of the Axis, Romania joined the invasion of the Soviet Union on the 22nd of June 1941, providing equipment and oil to Germany, as well as committing more troops to the Eastern Front than all the other allies of Germany combined. Romanian forces played a large role during the fighting in Ukraine, Bessarabia, Stalingrad, and elsewhere. According to historian and author Mark Axworthy, the Second Axis Army in Europe arguably belonged to Romania, although this is disputed since many would agree that this position goes to the Italian army. In February 1943, with a decisive Soviet counteroffensive at Stalingrad, it was growing clear that the tide of war was turning against Axis powers. In August 1944, Romania was fighting on its own territory. The situation was critical. In order not to wage war on his own territory, King Michael considered to change the government. On the 20th and 21st of August, some meetings were held with the political leaders and army officers in order to establish a plan to get Romania out of the war against the Soviets. On the 23rd of August, Jean Antonescu instructed the king to request a hearing at 4 p.m. In the discussion that followed with the king and lasted over an hour, the marshal presented in detail the situation on the front line. When the king asked him to get out of the war and sign an armistice with the Allies and Soviet Union, Marshal Antonescu replied that he would end the armistice with the approval of Germany and with some guarantees. He also said that he did not object in principle to the exit from the war. His own government tried to obtain favorable terms for an eventual armistice with the Soviets through Stockholm for some time, but he has to refuse it, arguing with the difficult conditions of armistice in relation to the Soviet Union, which annexed Bessarabia and northern Bukovina. By signing an unconditional surrender, these territories would probably be lost, and Romania would have been occupied by communist forces in the end. Also, he argued about the turning of arms against Germany, not seeing betraying your old ally as an honorable thing to do for a military officer. Then the king was forced to use the password. If things are so, then we have nothing left to do. Hearing the words, a colonel who was waiting outside for the signal entered the room with a group of 4 soldiers who arrested the marshal. At 2200 hours, in a radio message, the king announced the change of government and the new path that Romania was on. Formal Allied recognition of the de facto orientation of Romania in the war came on 12 September 1944. Until this date, Soviet troops started moving into Romania. 140,000 Romanian troops were taken as prisoner of war. About